Before people, there were no fires. Even flowing lava and lightning strikes were unlikely to spark fire in the dense native shrubs and wet forests. As people altered the landscape and introduced foreign plants and animals, the natural structure of the forest broke down. Tinder grasses invaded and crept higher into the mountain, like fuses waiting to ignite.
But what tends to happen is when the fire goes through, it consumes all the native plants in a particular watershed that we manage. And because it's not a fire-adapted community, plant community, ecologically, it doesn't tend to recover well. So what tends to happen is after this fire goes through, it burns and removes a lot of the native ground cover. And the first thing that grows back is the one that outcompetes everything else, is the non-natives.
The most fire-resilient forests are the native ones. Forests invaded by non-native species or afflicted with the slow burn of diseases like rapid ohia death are more susceptible to burning faster and hotter. As a percentage of land area, the Aloha State typically loses as much forest to fire every year as most western states.
And it's not really a season we have, but we've had fires in January, we've had fires in June, we've had fires in November, December. So for us, we just have to be ready at all times. These places that you've seen that are green, in a matter of a month and a half, it could easily become brown. It depends on the weather, what's preceding, if it's been a windy period or if it's just lack of rain.
From your side, it's kind of funky. So,
These are the first responders for wildfires on millions of acres of state land.
I know.
They also support the firefights on county and federally owned lands. That, combined with the states, accounts for 60% of all of Hawaii.
But most of the time, between us and the county, we have it worked out pretty well where they'll take care of the life in the property, and if we have an area up in the mountain where it's a watershed we have to protect, then we go directly to the watershed.
This means having fire trucks, tools, equipment, and firefighters ready to go is essential to protect vast areas.
These trucks are solely dedicated just to wildland fire. The pumps are already on it. Whatever necessary we need for fires is we load it on these trucks already. So these people, so our staff, when they get called in, they're just literally coming in, grab their PPE, grab their gear, and then go straight into these trucks, and then we're heading out to the fire.
With few dedicated firefighters, ordinary staff are trained and ready to leave their desks at a moment's notice. This work can eat up millions of dollars each year and could continue to increase as the climate changes. Dry areas are predicted to get drier, fires expected to be hotter and last longer. When they reach into the watershed areas and our native forests, the consequences can be devastating. Remember how native trees are efficient in transporting water from rain into the ground and aquifers?
Unfortunately for us here in Maui, every time we have a fire, somehow we always have a huge rain event that follows. And it usually, there's no interception, precipitation, or raindrop interception. So when these raindrops hit, and when they come, they're coming heavy. So now when it hits the ground, no ground cover, that soil goes down into a stream or starts to begin to run off. And that's when you see it end up in the ocean.
Once again, the Mauka to Makai connection. Erosion and runoff into coastal waters are just a couple of the negative impacts of fire. When fire gets into the native forest, we lose its great water capturing ability. The clear, clean, naturally filtered water we enjoy from our faucets is ultimately reduced. This is why trying to replant forests quickly and with the right kind of plants is vitally important. Managing our native forests well and aggressive firefighting in all our watersheds is important to the very survival of some really rare plants. A fire here in 2016 scorched 2,500 acres and burned into the Nanakuli Forest Reserve. While the flames were still dying, Marigold Zoll and Susan Ching hiked across freshly charred ground and up into the forest to check on a single tree. It's the last remaining wild na'u, or Hawaiian gardenia, on Oahu.
I think most of it is dead, maybe from the heat.
Right on the edge of where trees were burning just a few days ago, Susan climbs barefooted into the gardenia tree to collect fruit. Such is the passion of virtually everyone you meet who works to protect Hawaii's forests for life.
Now this fruit's been hanging on the tree for a while, so let's see how she looks. Look, it's charred on one side.
Wow.
Yeah, it really did get burned. It's just escaped. Oh my gosh, it's burnt.
There are only 16 of these trees left anywhere on Earth. This one on Oahu, and the other 15 on Lanai. Another example of how precariously close many native plants and animals are to being wiped from the face of the earth forever, and reason for Susan's delight.
That's amazing with the charred fruit and everything, and there's still some seeds in there. Oh wow, she was really spared. She just barely made it. I think it's like it's really special that the fire burned all around this whole fence, and it's a tiny fence, and she got some char on the fruit and char on the leaves, but she's still here. So I'm happy, I'm sad at the same time. But overall, I feel good. I feel like our efforts made a difference. It's not as much as I'd like, but we all have been working hard, in this area and dry forest in general. So it's hard to make a huge difference.
But they do make a difference. Just as every step each of us takes to learn how our lives intersect and intertwine with the forests that rise above us in Hawaii's celebrated mountains, the backdrop and backbone of these islands, we can't afford to take them for granted.